Hey guys, what's going on? This is Kyle with HOGWORKZ. Today we are here in our Michigan shop to introduce you to another part for your 15 and up Road Glide. That's right, these here are our OEM replacement gauge cluster covers. These are available in over 100 OEM color match finishes painted right here in the Motor City. Best of all, these are going to bolt on in minutes using OEM hardware and replace the boring matte black finish cluster covers that come on your bike. Today we got Alex here. He's going to walk you through step by step to get these on your machine. Let's get into it.
All right guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started on this. Basically the whole fairing's gonna come out, the inner and the outer. The first thing we'll start with is getting rid of the trim skirt panel down here. So we'll take that off, we'll pull the windscreen off, pull the outer fairing off, we'll pull the inner fairing off, and that'll give us access to our gauge cluster. Go ahead and remove the windscreen and the screws that hold the outer fairing on. Go ahead and remove the windscreen, then this trim panel here, and then this here, you kind of pull down on it, and then up, pop right out. So now what you want to do is just put one of these screws back in here to hold the outer while you loosen the bolts on the back side. This will keep it in place from falling off because you're going to be working around on this side now. So then we'll go ahead and pop these speaker covers off. You can reach behind the panel and pop these out. That's going to give you access to this Torx bit here on both sides. We'll go ahead and remove these screws here that are holding your little wind deflector on. They also hold the inner to the outer. Go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And we'll go ahead and remove the T27 screws underneath the speaker covers. Then with the 3/16 Allen, you want to remove the light bracket bolt here. And repeat on the other side. So now at this point you can go ahead and disconnect your blinkers. And then you can loosen this screw up, take it out, and the whole front fairing should come right out. If you have accent lights, you go ahead and disconnect and remove those now. And now we're going to go ahead and remove the headlight. There's 2 bolts on the bottom, 2 on the top, using a 3/16 Allen. And then go ahead and disconnect your light. Go ahead and remove our fairing support. Now all your fairing supports removed, go ahead and repeat on the other side. So now we got our outer fairing off. We're gonna go ahead and start disconnecting some of our wiring so that we can pull the inner fairing out. Basically what's gonna happen here is gonna remove all these connections. Anything that's got like a Christmas tree with a zip tie on it like this, you're gonna go ahead and remove this from the bracket. And what we're gonna end up with is we're gonna end up feeding these two wires with their connections through this square. We're gonna remove these 4 bolts and the whole inner fairing is gonna come out as one assembly. We'll go ahead and disconnect our wires that are going into the radio, like your USB, your AM, FM, and then this big connector here. Okay, so after you have the USB, AM, FM, and your GPS stuff unplugged here, you want to go ahead and unplug this main connector. There's a little button right here, a little tab to push in, and then you want to rotate it, and as you push it, it'll unplug itself. And after we got that out of the way, we want to come up here and snip this zip tie that's holding your USB cable. Just get these out of the way for now. And now we're gonna go around and remove all these zip tie push-in holders. They're like little Christmas tree things. You can use a panel tool if you have one. If not, you can use a screwdriver. Basically what we're gonna be doing though is removing this portion of the harness, the center portion, and we're gonna get it out of the way and feed these big wires through this square when we remove the entire fairing. Through this square when we remove the entire fairing. Before you start this, it might be wise to take a picture of it. A lot of this stuff really can only plug in to itself because of the way that the connectors are made. So, but if you're unsure, take a picture before you start. So now we'll go ahead and start popping these out. And once you have this, most of this stuff disconnected, you can go ahead and continue to disconnect some of these connections. And what you want to get down to is this center harness removed. So go ahead and feed these wires through this cutout here on both sides. You know, don't try and do all the connectors at one time because they're kind of big, so you have to kind of do, you know, one at a time here. Just take your time, kind of fish this thing through. And what you'll end up with on that side is this here. And then same thing on the other side. Fish these through. And that's what you want it to look like before you pull the inner fairing. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and pull these 4 bolts that hold the entire fairing on. We'll pull them out, and then if you got a buddy, have him feed these wires through. If not, you can kind of tape these up. Just want to keep them together so that they don't get hung up on the fairing when you're pulling it off. Okay, next order of operations is to get the cap of the cluster off. It's T25. There's one of these screws on both sides. So go ahead and remove these. Once you got the cover screws on the sides removed, you want to remove this little clip right here. And all it does is pulls up from the back. And we'll slide right out like that. You can see a little clip on the back. So you might want to turn it one way or the other to get this out here. And then we'll have to remove the wires for the gauge cluster. So go ahead and remove the gauge cluster wire here. And then depending on how much stuff you have plugged into these accessories down here, you might have a couple wires down here. We only got 2 here, so we can get this out a little further. 1. Okay, after you have the cap of the gauge cluster and the gauges out, go ahead and remove the side screw here. And the same thing on the other side. Now we should be able to slide this right off. So like that. Okay, now we want to transfer our gauges to the color match cluster. So we'll go ahead and flip it over. Using a T25 Torx, there's 3 screws that hold the gauges in, and we also need to remove our power clips for our accessories. And again, that's T25. Our gauge is free. Now we'll go ahead and remove our power clips. So now that you got your power clips back in place, we will install the gauge cluster. All right, now you have the gauges and the power clips transferred over. You're ready to reinstall. Okay, now we want to transfer these little plastic clips. So we'll go ahead and pull these out of here. And we'll want to install them on our new cluster here. Like that. And after you have the clips transferred over, you can take the 2 halves and connect them together. Like that. Go ahead and install this on the bike. Just keep an eye on the mounting holes on the side. Line them up with the mounting holes on the bike. And install the top one on both sides and set it into place. Once you got that tightened down, go to the other side. Okay, now that you have your color match cluster on, you can go ahead and start reinstalling the front fairing, and it will go on just like you took it off. Okay, so go ahead and feed your wires through the cutout in the front here. Okay, now that you have the fairing on here, resting on here, you go ahead and put your 4 bolts back in that hold it on. And feed your wires back through the slot in the bracket here. This one on the other side. All right, at this point, we'll go ahead and replace that middle section of harness that we took out earlier. And an easy way to remember is this white connector goes to the white connector on what would be the left side of the bike, and the black connector goes to the right side of the bike. And you can go ahead and refasten all your zip tie Christmas tree holders. And go ahead and start making your connections. Looks like we're good to go. Okay, after you have everything buttoned up front there, go ahead and put your fairing support back on. Up here. All right, once you got the headlight buttoned up, you can go ahead and put the front fairing back on. And again, just grab one of the windshield bolts, and you can go ahead and put your blinker screw back in here. And again, blinker screw back in here. You can go ahead and replace the screw, the T27 inside the speaker housing here. You can go ahead and replace your wind deflector on both sides. And then kind of rock it forward. Like that. All right, then last thing, we'll go ahead and put the windscreen on. And a little trim piece here. Go ahead and get your bolts started. Once you got them all started, then you can go ahead and tighten them down. And lastly, we'll go ahead and put the fairing skirt back on.